Good evening, my name is Davis Query, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a caramel frappuccino steak. So the very first thing that we're going to start with is the rub for this steak, because, well, you need to get a bright coffee rub on this. To start, I have a pre-measured half cup of ground coffee. You can buy any just regular coffee ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix it with a half teaspoon of pepper, as you can see here. Try not to get too much depending on your pepper preferences, but what we're just going to do is put that in there. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have an entire teaspoon of sugar, just to, actually add a little bit of sweetness to this. And then on top of that, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. Now you can either use these small salt packets that are about half a teaspoon each, or you can measure out with standard table salt. Alright, and then what you're going to do there is you're going to mix it all up as best you can to make it as close to homogeneous as possible. That way, all of it's in there. The coffee grinds, the salt, the pepper, everything. So you want to get it as about an even texture as possible, like this. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to have to put it into the steak. Now, for our steak choices, I'm going to be using a sirloin steak here. Now, remember to constantly wash your hands, especially since you're going to have to rub in the coffee rub to this steak. So to wash your hands constantly before and after, and to use different tools. Alright, so some people like to just use a spoon and spread the rub over the steak with a spoon. I personally will be putting layers on it and then rubbing it in by hand just to make sure that the rub is in there nice and deep. So just spread it across like so. And try to just get it around the steak as evenly as possible. And then what you're going to do is rub it in as much as you can. And try to get it nice and deep in. You probably will have some excess on the plate, but you're just going to try to rub it in so that way it's on the outside texture of the steak. You're going to do this to both sides because, well, you want this to be on the entire outside of the steak as much as possible. Also, in this particular case, since I'm using a George Foreman heated plate, I'm going to turn it on just to make sure that it's preheated so that way we can fast forward the cooking process as much as possible. You can also rub it in like with a spoon like this, especially since the coffee rub is just going to be going onto a raw steak. And again, remember to rub it in as best you can. Alright, and remember, while you're waiting for the George Foreman to heat up, to wash your hands, especially when handling raw meat. And don't touch your face while handling raw meat. We don't want you to get sick. So, when we actually have the heated plate ready, what we're going to do is we're going to put it on for 3 minutes to get a medium rare texture. Now, of course, that's adjustable for those of you that like a more well done steak, and for those of you that like an even rawer steak. However, since we're attempting to pan-sear this, we're going to be putting it on for 2 to 3 minutes just to try and get a medium rare steak. Alright, we're just going to let it cook and we'll get back to you with the final product. Okay. Repeatedly cooked our steak for 3 minutes or however long you need based on your preference in meat cooking. We finally add the last ingredient to it, the caramel. Now I just generally put the caramel in for a minute to get it nice and good, just to get it a nice texture so that way you don't have to deal with it clumping while you pour it over the steak. And I just take a small spoonful and just pour it lightly over the steak. And then you want to coat it as much as possible, but not put on too much, or else you're just going to have too sweet of a combination. You kind of want it spread out as much as possible, like this. And now you have a caramel frappuccino steak. Please enjoy.